It was just past midnight when I heard the knock. Not the soft, uncertain kind, this was deliberate, measured. 3 firm thuds against my apartment door. I muted the TV and sat still, hoping I imagined it. But it came again. I wasn't expecting anyone. Especially not him. When I opened the door, the hallway light fell across his face. Ryan stood there, hands in the pockets of a worn leather jacket, his hair tousled like he'd been running his fingers through it non-stop. His eyes, those same sharp green ones I'd avoided for over a year, met mine. "Hey," he said, his voice low and tired, but laced with something else. Familiarity. Tension. Maybe regret. "Ryan." I blinked, half convinced I was dreaming. "What the hell are you doing here?" "I was in the neighborhood," he said with a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. "Thought I'd see if my favorite stepbrother still lived like a recluse." I didn't laugh. "It's late." "Yeah. That's kind of the point." We stood in silence, just long enough for my heartbeat to become uncomfortably loud. Then I stepped aside. "Come in." He walked past me like he belonged there. Same way he always did. It annoyed me then. It annoyed me now. And still, I closed the door behind him. My apartment was dim, only lit by the flicker of a paused movie screen. Ryan looked around and gave a short whistle. "You really do live like a monk." I crossed my arms. "Why are you really here, Ryan?" He turned toward me, jacket still on, that smirk now completely gone. "I needed to see you." Those 5 words hit like a slap. I hated how quickly my stomach flipped. I hated that I wanted to hear them. From him of all people. It had been 15 months since we last spoke. Last saw each other. After what happened, or almost happened. During that summer trip to Catalina with our blended family, we'd agreed on space. Silence. It was easier that way. For him, for me, and definitely for Derrick. I motioned to the couch. "Sit. I'll get you something." He dropped onto the cushions like he owned them and sprawled out, legs wide, eyes locked on me as I moved to the kitchen. "Still drinking that garbage instant coffee?" "I upgraded to garbage cold brew," I muttered, pouring 2 glasses. My hands shook slightly. I brought the drinks back, handed him one, and sat in the armchair across from him. "So," I asked, "what is this?" "A midnight nostalgia tour." Ryan leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. His expression shifted, serious, maybe even vulnerable. "No games, Eli. I couldn't sleep. I was thinking about you. About that night." I felt the air pull tight between us. "That night," I repeated, trying to sound casual. "Failing." "Yeah." He stared down into his glass. "I still think about it. More than I should." I swallowed hard. The room felt hotter than it should. "We said we weren't going to talk about that." "You said it," he said, voice flat. "I just agreed because you looked like you'd shatter if I didn't." I didn't respond. Couldn't. That night, 2 bottles of wine, a half-moon over the ocean, his hand on my back as we watched the tide. The kiss almost happened. It would have if I hadn't pulled away. If I hadn't remembered Derrick waiting for me in our shared room back at the cabin. Ryan had leaned in, lips parted, breath slow. And I'd panicked. Whispered something pathetic like, "We can't," and disappeared into the dark. "You're with someone," I said now, almost as if to remind myself. "You were with someone then," he shot back, gaze sharpening. "Doesn't mean I forgot what I felt." My skin prickled. "Ryan." He stood up suddenly, walked to the window, back to me. The apartment was quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the flickering TV screen behind me. "I'm not asking for anything, Eli," he said, not turning around. "I just wanted to know if it meant something to you. Or if I made it all up in my head." My throat tightened. "You didn't make it up." He turned. His eyes were softer now. "Then why did you ghost me?" "Because you're my stepbrother," I said too loudly. "Because I was with Derrick. Because it was wrong." Ryan walked slowly back toward me, and with each step my resolve thinned. He stopped just in front of me. "You kissed me back, Eli." That was, I began, but he cut me off. Don't rewrite it. You did. He wasn't asking. He was stating a fact, and I hated that he was right. He reached out, hesitated, then placed his hand on mine. His fingers were warm, familiar. I didn't move. You haven't touched me since, he whispered. My chest ached. I didn't think I was allowed to. Ryan knelt in front of me. I didn't come here to ruin your life, Eli. I came because I can't stop thinking about how it felt to almost have you. I closed my eyes. The weight of the moment settled in every part of my body. I don't know what you want from me, I said. His thumb brushed over mine. Honesty. For once. We stayed there, unmoving. His hand over mine. Our breath synced, slow, quiet. I should go, he murmured, but he didn't move. No, I said before I could stop myself. Stay. I didn't sleep that night. Ryan stayed, just like I asked him to. We didn't touch again, didn't speak much after that. He took the couch. I left the hallway light on, unsure if it was for his comfort or mine. I lay in my bed staring at the ceiling, every nerve in my body humming. By morning, the silence between us had thickened into something weightier. Unspoken, loaded. When I finally emerged from the bedroom, Ryan was in the kitchen, shirtless, flipping pancakes like this was something we did every weekend. You don't even cook, I muttered, rubbing sleep from my eyes. He smirked. Doesn't mean I can't. Sit down, Eli. I sat, watching him move around like he belonged. His body was lean, defined, a tattoo I hadn't seen before trailing down his left ribcage. It looked like inked scripture, faded but intimate. His skin caught the morning light in a way that made my throat dry. This isn't helping, I said. Ryan raised an eyebrow. What's not? This. You. Pretending everything's normal. He plated the pancakes and slid one across to me. I'm not pretending. I'm making breakfast. I shook my head, but I took a bite anyway. You remember the lake house? He asked suddenly, not looking at me. Don't, I warned. But he kept going. That night. Bonfire. Everyone else passed out. You and me on the dock. We talked about running away. I swallowed hard. We were drunk. We weren't that drunk, he said, sitting across from me. You said you felt trapped. Like Derrick didn't see you anymore. Like you were disappearing. I stared down at my plate. That was a long time ago. Ryan leaned forward. So what's changed? The words hit harder than I expected. What had changed? Derrick was still cold. Still distant. We hadn't touched each other in weeks. He was always working, always on his phone. Lately, he slept with his back to me. I stopped counting how many times I'd cried in the shower so he wouldn't hear. I'm still with him, I said quietly. But not really, Ryan shot back. Not in the way that matters. You don't know that. I know you, he said, softer now. You're not the kind of man who lets someone in easily. And when you do, it means something. I pushed back from the table. The walls felt too close. You don't get to waltz in after all this time and try to rewrite my life. I'm not trying to rewrite it, he said, standing. I'm trying to remind you of what you already know. I turned to face him. What I know is that you're my stepbrother. That we crossed a line once, and it almost destroyed me. But it didn't, he said, closing the distance between us. What destroyed you was pretending it never happened. His voice dropped, barely above a whisper. Tell me you haven't thought about it. About me. I couldn't. Not honestly. Because I had thought about him. More than I wanted to admit. I thought about that almost kiss. About his lips inches from mine. About what it would have felt like if I hadn't pulled away. I thought about him when Derrick rolled away from me at night. When I stared at the ceiling and wondered how I ended up so numb. Ryan reached out and brushed a stray strand of hair from my face. The touch was brief, but it left heat in its wake. I came because I couldn't take it anymore, he said. The not knowing. The silence. I didn't come to mess things up for you, Eli. I came to ask if there's still something real between us. My breath caught. You make it sound so easy. It's not easy, he said. But it's honest. I stepped back, heart pounding. Derek and I have history. So do we. I opened my mouth to protest, but no words came. Ryan exhaled. I'm not asking you to choose. Not today. I just wanted you to see that I'm still here. I never stopped being here. The air between us grew heavier, charged. I could feel the words he wasn't saying. I could feel the pull, that familiar, dangerous pull, like gravity between two objects that should know better than to collide. I turned away, needing to break the tension. I need some air. Ryan didn't stop me. But just as I reached for the door, he said something that made me pause. Do you remember what you told me that night on the dock? He asked. I looked back. You said, Ryan continued, that the scariest part wasn't wanting me. It was how right it felt. My chest ached. I remembered every word. I stepped outside, letting the cool morning hit my face. I stood there a while, trying to steady my breath. Inside, Ryan didn't follow. He gave me space, the one thing Derek never offered. And in that silence, I asked myself a question I'd avoided for too long. What if wanting him wasn't the mistake? The apartment was quieter than I'd ever known it to be. Not the kind of quiet that brings peace, the kind that amplifies everything you're trying not to feel. Every creak in the floorboards, every breath that caught in my throat, every stolen glance from across the room. Ryan didn't leave after breakfast. He didn't ask if he could stay. He just remained. His presence lingered like smoke, thick, intoxicating, and impossible to ignore. By late afternoon, I'd given up pretending I was getting anything done. My laptop sat untouched on the coffee table. Emails blinked unread. I watched him instead, lounging on my couch, bare feet propped up, reading a book I forgot I even owned. Derek hadn't texted all day. The space between me and Ryan wasn't just physical anymore. It was electric. Every moment stretched too long, every silence felt like a dare. You always do this when you're nervous, he said suddenly, not looking up from the page. I blinked. Do what? Chew your thumb. Stare at the wall like it wronged you. I dropped my hand to my lap and scowled. I'm not nervous. He finally looked at me. His smile was faint. You are. And it's okay. I'm nervous too. I laughed once, dry, humorless. You don't get nervous. I do when I'm around you. The air shifted again, subtly but unmistakably. My skin buzzed. My chest tightened. I should have shut it down, changed the subject, walked out of the room. But I didn't. Because part of me didn't want to anymore. He stood, slow and deliberate, and crossed the short distance between us. He knelt in front of where I sat and rested his hands on my knees. His touch was gentle, but it felt like a spark. Eli, he said softly, if I'm crossing a line, tell me now. Just say the word. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because the truth, the ugly, aching, undeniable truth, was that I wanted him. My hands moved on their own, tangling in the collar of his shirt. And then we were kissing. Not tentative. Not soft. Desperate. The kind of kiss you give when you've waited far too long and tried far too hard to forget. His mouth was hot and hungry on mine, and I melted into it, into him. Our bodies collided like they'd been starving for this exact moment. I pulled him closer, hands running down his back, memorizing the lines of muscle beneath warm skin. He kissed like he meant it, like he had something to prove, like this wasn't new, just delayed. My back hit the cushions, and he followed. Every part of me burned with want, with guilt, with every what if I'd buried under years of pretending. Are you sure? He whispered against my throat. I nodded, breathless. I've never been more sure of anything. The clothes came off in a blur. Skin against skin. Fingertips trailing paths across ribs, hips, thighs. Our bodies moved in rhythm, like they knew what to do even if we didn't. It wasn't just sex. It wasn't just lust. It was release. Of fear. Of shame. Of years of repression and rules and labels. It was messy and raw and real. Afterward, we lay tangled together, sweat cooling on our skin, breath still uneven. I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding. "What now?" I asked, the question trembling on my lips. Ryan turned his head, eyes soft. "That depends. Are you going to pretend this didn't happen too?" I exhaled slowly, dragging a hand down my face. "I don't know." He didn't respond. Just reached over and linked our fingers together. The silence was broken by the buzz of my phone. I turned and saw the name on the screen, Derrick. The message was simple. "We need to talk tonight. Please." My stomach twisted. Ryan must have seen the shift in my expression. "Him?" I nodded. He pulled his hand away slowly, sat up. "You don't owe me anything, Eli." "Don't do that," I said, sitting up too. "Don't act like this didn't mean something." "It meant everything," he said. "But I won't force you to choose me. I'm not here to be your secret." I swallowed hard. "You're not." He stood, gathering his clothes. "Then don't treat me like one." I reached for him, caught his wrist. "Ryan." He leaned down, kissed me once more, slow, deep, lingering. "I've loved you longer than I've let myself admit," he whispered against my lips. "If this is the last time, I wanted it to be real." And just like that, he walked to the bathroom, leaving me on the bed, naked in more ways than one. I stared at the message from Derrick, thumb hovering over the screen. I just committed the one thing I swore I never would. I cheated. But for the first time in years, I felt something. Something terrifying. Something honest. Outside, the sky darkened, and I realized the storm wasn't coming. It was already here. Derrick arrived just after 7 p.m. His knock was quiet, too quiet for a man who used to come in with keys and confidence. I stood in the center of the living room, barely breathing, heart lodged in my throat. Ryan was gone. He'd taken his bag and vanished without a word. I didn't ask him to stay. I didn't ask him to go. I just let it happen, and now I was here. Alone. About to face the other man who claimed pieces of me. I opened the door. Derrick looked tired. Rumpled suit, dark circles under his eyes. He glanced past me, into the apartment, like he already knew something was different. "Can I come in?" he asked. I nodded, stepping aside. He moved to the middle of the room and stood there like a stranger. Like someone who hadn't kissed me 1,000 times. Like someone who hadn't promised forever. I waited for him to speak. But he didn't. So I did. "You said you wanted to talk." He turned to face me. "Yeah. I do." The silence stretched between us, fragile and tight. "Finally," he said, "I know I haven't been present lately." "That's an understatement." His jaw clenched, but he nodded. "You're right. I've been disconnected. From this. From you." I folded my arms across my chest, bracing. "Why?" He looked down. "Because I don't know how to be with someone who's already halfway gone." The words hit harder than I expected. Not because they were cruel, but because they were true. "I tried," he said, softer now. "I tried not to see it. The way you stopped laughing. The way your eyes stopped lighting up when I walked into the room. Tears burned at the edges of my vision. I kept telling myself we were just in a rough patch. That it would pass. That you'd come back to me eventually. Derrick." But then I started asking myself something I never thought I'd have to. He looked up, and his eyes weren't angry. They were hollow. "What if I'm not what you want anymore?" I swallowed hard. "I don't know." He let out a quiet, bitter laugh. "That's what scares me most." We stood in the center of the apartment, two people who used to be each other's home, now just echoes. "Did you cheat on me?" he asked. There it was. The question that had been crawling up my spine all day. "Yes," I said, voice steady. His breath caught. "I'm not going to lie to you," I added. "Not now. I slept with someone." He didn't speak. Just looked at me, really looked. Like he was trying to find the man he used to love inside the one standing in front of him. "Was it someone you care about?" he asked. I nodded. "Yeah." Ryan's name hung in the air, unspoken but loud. Derrick's face didn't crack. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't curse or throw anything. He just nodded slowly. Then I guess I already lost you. No, I said. You didn't lose me. We lost each other. He blinked, and for a moment I saw the man I fell for. The man who held my hand at family dinners, who used to dance with me barefoot in the kitchen. He was still there, just buried under too many nights of silence. I didn't want to hurt you, I said. But you did. I know. He took a deep breath. So what now? I didn't have an easy answer. I think we both stopped being in love a while ago, I said. We just didn't want to admit it. He nodded, eyes wet. We held on because we were afraid to let go. I think it's time we stop being afraid. He walked past me to the door, paused with his hand on the knob. I hope he makes you happy. Whoever he is. He already does, I said truthfully. He gave me a sad smile. Then I guess that's the only thing that matters. And just like that, he was gone. I stood there, door closed, heart pounding, air too thick to breathe. The weight of what I'd done settled over me, but so did something else. Clarity. For so long I'd convinced myself that staying was the right thing. That love meant endurance, even if it cost you yourself. But now I understood something different. Love shouldn't feel like survival. It should feel like coming home. Later that night, I found Ryan's note. It was on my pillow, scrawled in familiar handwriting. I wasn't sure if I should leave. But I didn't want to make this choice for you. If you want me, really want me, you know where to find me. I won't wait forever, Eli. But I'll wait long enough. I sat on the bed, note in my hands, chest full of questions and answers. Tomorrow I'd go to him. Not because I needed someone to fix me, but because I finally let myself want what was real. No more pretending. No more silence. Just the truth, and the man I never stopped wanting.